This is Advanced Math, Unit 6, Lesson 1, 6.1 Notes. The title is Angle Addition Laws, and we're going to go straight to our formulas. There are some formulas you will need to know. There's quite a bit of formulas in this unit alone. We're going to learn a few of them right now. Sine of A plus B will always equal sine of A times cosine of B plus sine of angle B, not A, and then cosine of, here I did B, so it's cosine of A. That's your angle addition laws. There's more. This one's for sine. Do leave a little bit of space because we're going to squeeze another one in there in just a bit. Next one is cosine of A plus B equals cosine of B minus sine of A sine of B. Now, a few things you'll need to know. First off, these are called angle addition laws when we're adding two angles together. Sine, you can see, keeps the sign. It's plus, it's plus. Cosine is opposite. Plus becomes minus. I think of it that sine is friendly. They intermingle sine with cosine, sine with cosine. The cosine is snobby. It only hangs out with itself. Cosine stays with cosine, and sine stays with sine. So that's how I try to remember it, which one goes where. All right, leave a little bit of space. Next one is tan of A plus B equals tan of A plus tan of B all over 1 minus the product of tan of A and tan of B. No real cute way to memorize that one, just need to know it. Okay, so what you will need to know is there could be minus signs here. The sign of A minus B might happen. Everything stays the same except that sign right there is minus. This one here could be cosine of A minus B. Everything will stay the same except that sign will be plus, because remember, cosine works with the opposite. So that's how that one works. And then the last one, tan of A minus B, I'm just going to write that one over. The top, you can see plus is plus and the bottom is the opposite. So if it's minus, it's going to stay minus, tan of A minus tan of B over 1, and then opposite would be 1 plus the product of tan A and tan B. Okay, we are going to test it. We're going to try it out and see if it works. We're going to try cosine of 30 degrees plus 60 degrees. Now, we use angle addition to help us simplify or break things down or even put things together. So on this one, we technically wouldn't need angle addition laws.
Robert Ramos, please report to the office. Robert Ramos.
So when we work through it, I'm going to put a little thinking bubble over here. We should know that we can never distribute cosine because it's a function, but we can add 30 plus 60 is 90. And what is cosine of 90 degrees? It is 0. All right, let's test the angle addition laws and see if it works. Okay, it's addition, it's cosine, it's snobby and opposite signs. So it's going to be cosine of 30, cosine of 60, minus sine of 30, sine of 60. Cosine of 30 degrees is root 3 over 2. You either have it memorized, your unit circle, or your hand trick. Cosine of 60 is 1/2, minus sine of 30 is 1/2. Sine of 60 is root 3 over 2. Root 3 times 1 is root 3 over 4. Take away 1 times root 3 is root 3 over 2 times 2 is 4. You subtract, you get 0 over 4, which is 0. Same answer. So you may be wondering, why in the heck would I do all this when this is easier? Because they're not always going to be nice, easy numbers the way that one is there. We were just testing it to see if it worked out, and it did. All right, we're going to try to go, we're now going to do some examples. we are going to evaluate letter number 1 is cosine of 135 degrees minus 30 degrees. And a reminder that you do not distribute. Don't ever distribute. You can distribute cosine of an angle, like cosine of x or cosine of 30, but cosine by itself never distributes. Okay, so we're using our angle addition laws, and sometimes it might be subtraction. Cosine is snobby and opposite. So I do cosine of 135, cosine of 30. Opposite sign would be plus, and then sine of 135 and sine of 30. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it out. Use your unit circle or your hand trick. Cosine of 135 is negative 1 over root 2. Cosine of 30 is root 3 over 2. Plus sine of 35 is positive 1 over root 2. And sine of 30 is positive 1/2. And let's work it out. We get negative root 3 over 2 root 2 plus 1 times 1 is 1 over 2 root 2. Add them together. We get negative root 3 plus 1 over 2 root 2. Now, if you wanted to, you could write that as 1 minus root 3 over 2 root 2. You don't have to. You can. I'm not going to rationalize. You can. If you do rationalize, your answer is going to look different. So if you're checking answers in the back of the book, they do rationalize. So it will look a little different. I'll show you really quick. It would look like negative root 6 plus root 2 over 4 if you did rationalize. Again, don't have to, just throwing it out there. If you check the answers in the back of the book, that's what it's going to look like. Okay, moving on. Number 2. Is sine of 15 degrees. Now, this is kind of working backwards from the one I just gave you. The previous problem had 2 angles inside the parentheses, and this one I'm only giving you 1 angle, but we are going to change it to a double angle, and here's why. We don't have 15 degrees on our unit circle. Now, what you have to do when you see these on the test, sine of a single angle, and you're like, what the heck, that's not on my unit circle, think of your angle addition laws, and what 2 angles can you add or subtract to equal 15. It doesn't matter if you add or subtract one of the 2, but the 2 angles you have to use have to be special angles, any special angle on the unit circle. 45, 30, 60, 240, 330, any of our special angles on our unit circle. All right, I'm going to use 45 degrees, take away 30 degrees. Now, if somebody else uses 2 other sets of numbers that still add or subtract to 15, it will still work out to be the same answer in the end. Okay, I'm going to rip it apart. It's sine, so it's friendly, and the same sign. Sine of 45, cosine 30, minus stays minus, cosine of, sine of 30, cosine of 45. Okay, so same sign, and it is friendly. Sine with cosine, 45, 30, 30, 45. Okay, sine of 45 is 1 over root 2. Cosine of 30 is positive root 3 over 2. Take away sine of 30 is 1/2, and cosine of 45 is 1 over root 2. 1 times root 3 is root 3 over 2 root 2. Minus 1 times 1 is 1 over 2 root 2. So that gives me root 3 minus 1 over 2 root 2. It does look a lot like our previous answer. That will not always happen. All right, that is it for number 2. Number 3, tangent of 285 degrees. Okay, so I'm going to break it up. Tangent of, In this case, I'm going to add two angles. Now, if it ever ends in a 5, you will be using 45 in there somewhere. So 45 plus what angle is 285? Do it in your head, do it on your calculator, on a piece of paper. 45 plus what number is 285? It's 240. And then we use our angle addition laws. So this equals tangent of 45 plus tangent of 240 over 1 opposite sign from what we started with, so minus the product of tan 45 and tan of 240. Okay, tan of 45 is 1, plus tan of 240 is root 3. You can look those up on your unit circle. You can hit pause and try it on your own, or have them memorized, or your hand trick. 1 minus tan of 45, we already found earlier, it's 1. Tan of 240 we found earlier, it's root 3. So I have 1 plus root 3 over 1 minus 1 times root 3 is simply root 3. These are not opposites. They do not reduce. I can't break off pieces. This is your final answer. Again, if you'd like to rationalize, you could. You would multiply top and bottom by the conjugate, by 1 plus root 3. Okay, on this last piece, we're going to work backwards. We're going to write as sine, cosine, or tangent of an angle. Okay, so I'm going to give it to you broken up. We're working backwards. I'm going to give it to you like this, and you're going to work backwards to that. Okay, so let me show you what I mean. Number 4, cosine of 10, cosine of 30, minus sine of 10, sine of 30. Okay, so we're going to condense it instead of expanding it. Cosines with cosine, sine with sine, that's the snobby one, which is cosine. And we know it's going to be plus because the minus becomes the opposite. Cosine of A plus B, my two separate angles are 10 and 30. So cosine of 10 degrees plus 30 degrees equals cosine of 40 degrees. 40 degrees is not a special angle, so I cannot go any further. That there is my answer. Okay, let's try another one. Number 5, sine of 50, cosine of 12, plus sine of 12 degrees and cosine of 50 degrees. Okay, so I have sine and cosine together intermingling, which means it's a sine function. And sine function keeps the sign, so it's going to be plus. A is 50, B is 12. Technically, when you're adding, it doesn't matter, but if you are subtracting, it does matter which angle is A and which angle is B. Okay, so that gives me sine of 62 degrees, again, which is not a special angle, so I am done with that problem. Sine of 62 degrees is the answer. Okay, let's try another one. Number 6. Tan of 20 degrees plus tan of 50 degrees over 1 minus the product, tan of 20 and tan of 50. Which one could this be? This is obviously the tan function, and I go with the sign that's at the top, so I'm going to add. This is A, this is B, 20 plus 50, which gives me tan of 70 degrees. And I keep saying, since it's not a special angle, that is it. You're done with that problem. If it were like tan of 45, you would actually evaluate. All right, next one. Cosine 70, sine of 130 minus cosine 130 sine of 70. Now I'm going to put a note here. This one is on the test, and kids mess up on this one quite often, so please make sure you try it, you're paying attention. They're intermingling sine with cosine. Do you see that? So I know it's going to be my sine function. Sine function keeps the sign, so it's going to be minus. Since it's minus, A and B are very important that you get them in order. Now be careful because kids see, oh, that's A, that's B. It's not, with this, sometimes it doesn't matter, but with this particular one, it does. A is with your first sign and B is with your first cosine. Do you see that? A, B. A is with your first sign and B is with your first cosine. So A is with your first sign, B is with your first cosine. If you flip-flop them, it is going to mess it up. So I have 130 take away 70. So you want to be careful. All right, so that is sine of 60 degrees. And sine of 60 degrees is an angle that we have in our unit circles. We can actually get an answer. Root 3 over 2. You actually have to evaluate it when it is a special angle. Okay, so be careful with that. When the A and the B are flipped around, you want to be careful because it does change things a little bit. We will get more practice with those in class. That is it for this lesson.